put your hands together, please, for the Red Arrows.
What a magnificent team. Many say they're the best in the world. Not just a display team, but a team of incredible showmen as well. In the UK, spectators' eyes often well up with tears of pride when they arrive overhead. Making complex maneuvers seem easy is a speciality at which the Red Arrows excel. Watch as they seamlessly transition from a steep right bank to a left bank in one of their signature formations, the Apollo Bend. One of the many appealing things about the Red Arrows is the way these skilled RAF professionals set aside needless military pomp to get right to the task at hand, presenting a first-class, unparalleled air display. The Red Arrow's diamond formation, comprised of 9 aircraft, is their signature maneuver. Just now, let's enjoy the skill and precision with which these 9 daring young men fly as one. It's poetry in motion. Those commands in the background are the voice of Spike Jepson, Red 1, the formation leader. His commands are followed by the motion of the aircraft as they shift to different positions.
On the right-hand side for the signal bend.
The Red Arrows display team actually numbers 10, the 10th being their team manager, Steve Underwood, who also serves as the commentator. Incredibly, sometimes during the season, the Red Arrows may present as many as 3 displays in a single day. Theirs is a grueling schedule, but these airmen are still fundamentally military men, trained to carry out combat missions anywhere in the world. The Hawks, which the Red Arrows fly, have minor engine modifications to improve throttle responses. Each aircraft also carries 318 liters of special oil in a smoke generator pod, with which each pilot can produce white smoke. Added dyes allow the pilots to change the white to red or to blue. The smoke generator pod is derived from the Aden cannon pod. Following their sequence of 9-plane formations and bends, the team divides into smaller sections of 2 to 5 aircraft for more dazzling displays, many of which are opposing passes, with 2 or more aircraft hurtling toward one another at closing speeds greater than 600 miles an hour and passing only a few feet apart. This is the Jippo roll, with the 2 lead aircraft inverted. That's correct. They are flying in formation, but upside down. The word Jippo is derived from the word gypsy. Watch these beautifully executed transitions. Look there, the lead pair are inverted again as the second pair bravely roll through the sky behind them in a kind of waltz. Here's another waltz. Here, the first pair behind the lead pull up and roll as the second pair take the first's place. Then the maneuver is repeated. And repeated. And repeated. You've seen the Jippo roll. Here is the very exciting Jippo break. The carousel is one of the signature maneuvers performed by the team's two solo experts, who are introduced as the synchro pair. Now we're going to depart the famous old fighter station on Biggin Hill, south of London, for RAF Scampton, the Red Arrow's home. Here, we will get a pilot's eye view of some of the Royal Air Force aerobatic team's signature maneuvers as we fly along with these remarkable men. Every good pilot knows how to land and take off without stalling his airplane, how to navigate from place to place without getting lost, and perhaps most importantly, to recover from extreme attitudes and stalls should his or her aircraft suddenly encounter wind or wake turbulence. For the Red Arrows, extreme attitudes are where their flying begins. To be considered for this legendary team, every applicant must feel completely at ease in his aircraft, whether flying vertically up, vertically down, right side up, upside down, anywhere at all in all three axes, the lateral, the vertical, and the horizontal. Each Red Arrow pilot must also feel comfortable in very close proximity to other aircraft, whether they are only a few feet apart and parallel, or closing on one another at 600 miles an hour to just miss one another by a few feet. When a pilot normally pulls back on his control stick, his body is pressed downward into his seat, and his blood flows away from his head. 5 times gravity, and a man of 10 stone weighs 50 stone. To avoid loss of consciousness during such maneuvers, each pilot's pressure suit compresses his lower body to help keep most of his blood in his upper extremities, so he may remain conscious and alert. When he is flying inverted, or upside down on the other hand, he experiences the opposite effect. Gravity draws the inverted or upside down pilot's blood toward his head. Even then, however, he will know exactly how to respond, despite the fact that he is only held in his seat by a complex body harness which keeps him there. A note: the pilot normally pulls the control stick toward him to climb or fly upward, away from the ground. But when he's upside down or inverted, everything works the same way, except the ground is now above his head, so to speak, and to climb away from the ground, one must push the stick forward, something that would normally send an airplane hurtling toward the air. But pull back on the control stick when you're inverted, and your airplane obligingly lowers its nose and heads for the good old terra firma, in which case one merely becomes a part of the ground, something you can only do once. The trick in all of this for the Red Arrow's pilot is to make it appear just as easy as walking in a park. The long tradition of aerial displays in Britain really began in the 1930s with this enormous team of Hawker Furies, which were state-of-the-art biplane fighters in their day. Tradition kept abreast of the times, and with the advent of jets, various teams were formed. In the mid-1960s, the RAF settled on the first Red Arrows team, which then flew a diminutive aircraft, aptly named the Gnat. But the maneuvers in each generation of display have tended to mirror the time. And in spite of the fact that time and technology have slowly gravitated toward today's very lethal and equally impersonal form of electronic warfare, the incredible teamwork of the Red Arrows has prevailed. Crowds of eager spectators never tire of watching their beloved Red Arrows and that very special flying skill that has ascended to become an exclusive art form and the envy of every other nation with an air force. During the Battle of Britain, the rules were simple and straightforward. When Hitler's bombers advanced, Britain's Hurricanes and Spitfires scrambled to attack them, and German fighters rallied to fend off the attackers. Between raids, there was waiting. Today's Red Arrows help keep the traditions of teamwork, precision flying skills, and camaraderie alive. The large, very expensive fighter bombers that have been employed as air display aircraft in the past have been replaced by these less expensive but very nimble fighter trainers, the British Aerospace Hawk. A far cry from the biplane of yesteryear when it comes to performance, but with a great similarity inside the cockpit. They both have a stick for elevator and aileron controls and a pair of pedals for the rudder. And, oh yes, one other thing, perhaps the most important ingredient, a pilot with lightning reflexes, quick thinking, skill, stamina, and most importantly, a chap who is a team player. Precision flying teams are nothing new. They've been around for a very long time. And whether they take off on concrete using the thrust generated by a state-of-the-art jet engine, or are propelled into the air by older, more traditional motors, they have a good deal in common. Whether then or now, team pilots must also possess superb hand and eye coordination, perfect vision, and be able to flawlessly focus on the task at hand. Otherwise, they just wouldn't be there. Perhaps the only significant differences between piloting a biplane and a jet are the greater G-forces imposed upon the body in a jet, especially in a tight turn, and the wind in your face in the old open cockpit planes. Curiously, most jet fighter pilots will jump at the opportunity to fly an older legacy aircraft, while yesteryear's pilots would do just about anything to hop a ride in the back seat of a British Aerospace Hawk. As long as the Red Arrows continue to fly, the legacy of those who came before, the few, will live on in the minds and hearts of Britons who will always remember. As for the business of actually performing with the Red Arrows, well, a team lead and a solo tell it best.
Fly a wing over for them, and when they get into position like that, then they tell me that they're all aboard, and I call for the smoke to go off. And we're running just behind the crowd. I call for the smoke to come on, and then as we start our pull up, just before I pull up, I'll call pulling up. And then when we get to about 30 degrees of nose up, I'll call for the change, first formation change into diamond. Over the top of the loop, I throttle back a little bit and bend the loop to the right, as you can see there, before reversing left. And I'll tell everybody what I'm doing. So at this stage, it would go reversing left now, and then we're into something like a 4G turn all the way around the corner.
What's your speed?
This sort of speed at the moment, we're probably doing about 330 knots, something like that. And at this stage here, I'm just feeling the turn to try and get the apex of the turn right in front of the crowd. And just after we pass the crowd, I'll call for the smoke to go off, and I'll call that I'm rolling out into a wing over, another wing over. Once again, looking for that point on the ground, my roll point, as I call it, and pulling up for a barrel roll in wine glass. I can actually see the guys. Most of the time I can't see the wingmen, but for the wine glass roll I can actually see the chaps either side of me quite clearly. And as I bottom the loop, I'll call rolling out, and then I call for the synchro pair to split, and we complete what we call the leader's benefit loop. And this is when the manager comes in, because he has to draw his attention, everyone's attention to the synchro pair, who come in each time from left and right. Normally their closing speed is somewhere between 600 and 700 miles an hour, and they're pulling anywhere up to 4 or 5 G. What happens in this particular one is that Flight Lieutenant de Coursier, number 6, will fly the manoeuvre, and number 7 will fly the same manoeuvre and miss him. And obviously Red 6 never takes avoiding action, it's always up to 7.
Whereas the other 7 aeroplanes provide a more artistic picture in the sky, we provide the thrill and just the risk.
One false switch here could have dreadful results.
Obviously, as you gain experience and a little bit more confidence, you start bringing it closer and closer to the other guy.
Recovery from this maneuver is typically a mere 100 feet above the earth.
There are, areas which you could slip up with in the job, and things can get dangerous very, very quickly.
And as they clear, ideally we come in for our next manoeuvre, the Caterpillar, and as I'll call the pull up for this, I'll pull into the loop with about 3.5 to 4 Gs on board, and then everyone follows at a suitable separation. It's not a second or anything, it's just a fan type manoeuvre. Immediately the chap in front has pulled away, then the chap behind goes behind him. Over the top of the loop, which probably is a little bit smaller loop than many of the others, at about 4,400 feet, and then coming out of the bottom of that, the synchro pair on stage again for their carousel. While they've been doing that, we've been positioning behind the crowd for our final manoeuvre, which is the join-up loop. And what I'm aiming to do here is put the parasol bomb burst almost vertically over the crowd, just a little bit in front of the crowd. Over the top of the loop, 120 knots, something like that, then throttling back and looking for the vertical position where I call for the brake, go. Everyone puts their smoke on and splits, everyone goes through 40 degrees.
The tremendous concentration and steadiness of nerve required for a typical Red Arrow's air display has been measured as the equivalent of 8 hours of labor. Another team's captain will always be reluctant to glorify a competitor, especially in this sort of arena. But when it comes to the Red Arrows, other European team leads offer much more than one might expect to hear.
You have, I suppose, the same manner to flight like us, no? It's a good show, it's a strong show, no?
I think the Red Arrows have a very nice display. We enjoy very much the way they present the hawk, and I think they are very accurate and very skilled.
There is always a friendly rivalry when these teams meet, and enormous respect for one another's skills. There are often invitations to sit in on debriefing sessions and discuss flaws.
8-ship show. If we have somebody sick, then...
Yes. It'd be a good idea if we did it now.
Do you have any problems in line of stern with colour? If a guy smokes colour in front of somebody in line of stern, does he get colour all over his car?
Yes.
So tell you, you know how we do the 5... Have you seen our 5-4 split?
Never. This is in the flat show. I will never see a flat show from the Red Arrows.
But it should come as no surprise that the real debrief doesn't occur until the rival team leads have nipped off to the pub.
Let's just summarise then the points on that show. In fact, the first half was quite tidy, wasn't there? There was nothing too dramatic on that. Good big 9, good diamond, initial diamond. Tornado was okay, card was good. Vigan was better, I think, you being just that shade tighter, Simon. Leaders benefit if you can get yourself a little bit shallower, Simon. I think that'll help that initial rollout. Cascade was good. Rollback's just a little bit of a big one from you, Tim. Gear down bend was okay. Caterpillar on the run-in, I think we just need to reiterate the point we've made before, is the rollout is always a worker, because sometimes I can't get the rolling out call in anyway because synchro are chatting, or I don't want to block out a call. So I think the only way to play that is just to give yourself that little bit more in hand, so that if you do have a wobble come down, you can hold everything and let it wobble in front of you. Okay, so that wasn't a bad display, was it? Good for the third one of the day.
The Red Arrows team is comprised of much more than 9 pilots and the team manager commentator. A Hercules transport is called upon to provide travel accommodations for ground crew and staff. Just a few of the flags of nations visited by the team in the past. For 6 months of the year, flying with the Red Arrows is a full-time job. Routines are perfected, and while new maneuvers are being devised and aircraft are being checked, rechecked, and maintained by a crack engineering team, at the same time, recruits to the team are in and out of the cockpit to familiarize themselves both with the Hawk and with team procedures. The maximum length of service in the Red Arrows is 3 years, so each year, 3 out of 9 pilots are new to the job. The cycle of learning and training never ceases. From April to September, there can be at least 1 show a day, often more, and these shows might take place anywhere. The pace is relentless, whether you're up all night servicing the aircraft or whether you're pulling 4 to 5 Gs 2,000 feet above the ground several times a day. The British Aerospace Hawk these display pilots fly is a small single-engined 2-seat advanced trainer which entered RAF service in 1976. It is powered by a Rolls-Royce Turbomeca turbofan which develops a static thrust at sea level of 5,700 pounds, enough to give it a maximum speed of 645 miles per hour. Each cockpit is fitted with a fully automatic Martin Baker Mark 10 rocket-assisted ejection seat, which provides escape facilities at all altitudes and speeds. The cockpit transparency incorporates a miniature detonating cord that fractures the transparency after ejection initiation, allowing a clear path for the ejecting crew member. These aerial views provide a sense of what the world looks like from inside the cockpit, flying hundreds of miles an hour just a few feet off the ground. One senses both the pleasure and challenges these pilots derive from this job. At least when they have a moment or two to actually enjoy themselves, which is probably not very often. Since the first aerial pageant at Hendon in 1920, formation aerobatics have been held in high regard by the Royal Air Force. In the barnstorming days before the Second World War, no air display would be complete without the sight of two or more biplanes flying in close proximity, often tied together. With the dawn of the jet age, piston-engined aircraft were replaced by the faster and more dramatic of the new frontline jet fighters. Rivalry between the RAF fighter squadrons was high, and it became the trend for each to form its own team. When 54 Squadron re-equipped with the Hawker Hunter in 1955, they put together a 4-ship team known as the Black Knights. In 1956, 111 Squadron, the Tremblers, or Treble One, became the official RAF display team with their 5 gloss black Hunters. After displaying in France, they were applauded as Les Flèches Noires, and they soon became known throughout the continent as the Black Arrows. In 1957, the Black Arrows were increased to 9 aircraft. These were supplemented in 1958 by an additional 13 aircraft from other squadrons in order to perform a 22-aircraft loop and barrel roll at the Farnborough Air Show. This is the greatest number of aircraft ever looped in formation and remains a world record to this day. In 1964, 6 jet provosts of the Central Flying School became the official RAF team. They were known as the Red Pelicans. The Red Pelicans were not without their rivals, and in that same year, a 5-plane group of yellow gnats, known as the Yellowjacks, were formed at RAF Valley in North Wales by Flight Lieutenant Lee Jones. Gnat was the RAF's advanced jet trainer, and its speed and agility made it the perfect machine for formation aerobatics. The following year, Jones formed the official RAF display team with a 7-ship of Red Gnats and called them the Red Arrows. Initially, the Red Arrows were based at RAF Fairford in Gloucestershire. The team was equipped with a total of 10 Gnats, although they continued to display 7 until 1968. A crucial part of the Red Arrows display, ironically, takes place on the ground. This is when the team meets and greets its loyal fans on the tarmac at the various air displays around the country. The team realizes that people marvel not just at the aerobatics, but at the personal skills these men have honed through hundreds of hours of practice. But now it's time for the business side of the show, getting ready to fly. The team takes a moment to gather its thoughts in preparation for flight. This is the moment when they must concentrate on the task at hand. These men will in a few moments be flying incredibly dangerous maneuvers, where even the smallest mistake in a fraction of a second could lead to disaster. Now the show must go on. In their first year, 1964, the Red Arrows performed 65 displays in the UK and abroad. At the end of that year, they were awarded the Britannia Trophy by the Royal Aero Club in recognition of their outstanding contribution to British prestige in the field of aviation. In the 1960s, much of the Central Flying School were located at airfields around the Cotswolds in the heart of England. It was there that the team remained, moving from Fairford to Kemble. The most famous Red Arrow of them all, Ray Hanna, joined the team in 1965, and around 1968 added 2 more Nats to the team when he became leader, introducing the Red Arrow's signature Diamond 9 formation. His leadership brought a style and panache into displays which took the Red Arrows to new heights of excellence, earning them worldwide acclaim to this day. Hanna was the longest-serving leader in the history of the Red Arrows. In 1980, the RAF replaced the Hawker-Siddeley Nats with the Hawk. It was the result of a contest which was won by Hawker-Siddeley, which included a contract for the delivery of 175 aircraft. Since then, the Hawks have performed well in Red Arrow service, as we see here at a display at RAF Waddington. The first flight of the Hawk took place on the evening of 21 August 1974, only 11 days before the Farnborough show, where it was in direct competition with the Franco-German Alpha Jet. The Alpha Jet had made its maiden flight on 26 October 1973. Although the Hawk was only in its first phase of flight testing, it did appear at the show on time, albeit limited to gentle maneuvering. In a dive, the Hawk can reach a maximum speed of Mach 1.2. Its engine is specifically designed for reliability throughout a rigorous military flight schedule. The Hawk's airframe is one of simplicity of design, providing high utilization rates at a low cost to the operator. All instruments and controls are logically grouped together, ahead and in easy view of the pilot. The conventional control column and rudder pedals are connected to the tailplane, ailerons, and rudder by push-pull rods and mechanical links and levers. No control cables are used. Most of the rods are made of aluminium, except in the engine bay area where stainless steel is used. Each cockpit is fitted with a 0-0 rocket-assisted ejection seat, as we mentioned earlier. All in all, it's been a very good aircraft for the RAF. At Biggin Hill, pilots are briefed in a time-honored tradition by Simon Ames that harkens back to the early days of the RAF. But the challenges attendant to flying in the crowded airspace at this retired air station are evident by looking at the briefing chart. Biggin now falls under the approaches to mighty Heathrow. There are also more populated areas than there used to be, and special provisions must be accorded their due. Here at Biggin Hill, the Arrows wrap up yet another display. For them, it's all in a day's work. For the rest of us, it's a moment to stand in awe, both of the technology and of the skill of the team. As the commentators say, ladies and gentlemen, the Red Arrows. It is an all too familiar Kent afternoon with low clouds to greet the pilots and strong wind blowing in from the south as the Red Arrows emerge from behind a very large gathering of flyable Spitfires and Hurricanes assembled for a Battle of Britain commemoration.
To your left-hand side, the team once again being called up to short diamond. To the left of red 1 is red 3, Lieutenant Si Stevens. Si's in his first year with the team, having joined us from 11 fighter squad based out in Leading in North Yorkshire. Also today we have 3 display pilot in the year 2001 and 2002. An instructor on that aircraft. His last tour was at Coningsby. And on 10 o'clock the formation has changed into feathered arrow. Once again, cameras at the ready to your left-hand side. The angle back chases. The G comes on to 4 times the force of gravity. The blue and white smoke's on for the feathered arrow bend.
Within about a minute, the Reds are joined up for the beginning of their display. As Flight Lieutenant Underwood commentates, watch the wind run the show smoke ragged. It is a windy, gusty, turbulent day. But for the Red Arrows, it is just another program, demanding to be presented with their usual perfection.
Lieutenant David Thomas. David is also in his first year with the team, and is also one of the team's Harrier pilots. David is a qualified weapons instructor on the Harrier, and his last tour was also on number 3 Fighter Squadron. David is married to Sarah, and he's a keen sportsman who enjoys golf. But he's not concentrating on his golf handicap at the moment, he's concentrating on the wine glass bend.
Try and do some new sunbathing later, so we have to go. Please do rub your way.
There's a team departure right there, changing to a formation we call EFO. On the left-hand side of the boss is Red 3, Lieutenant John Green. John Green's also in his first year of the team, and has had a very varied career in the Royal Air Force.
We've taken you inside the commentary box, not so much to be out of the wind, as to show you another Red Arrow signature. Notice that Steve Underwood has neither notes nor script. He knows every move of the team so well he can ad-lib his commentary perfectly. It's not just Underwood either. Every Red Arrows commentator has presented each display the same way, whilst other teams struggle with notes and blowing pages and confusion demanded by their higher-ups. Finally, it's time to put the Hawks away and give the Red Arrows a break. At least all save one old Red, Squadron Leader Ray Hanna. Ray had orchestrated this Biggin Hill scramble reminiscent of the Battle of Britain. A dozen or more priceless relics of the period taxied past the parked Hawks, then scrambled into the air, not to formate, but to prepare to fight an enemy long since defeated, but never forgotten. Also never forgotten, the hundreds of brave boys who sacrificed all to keep Britain in hand. Although this team costs the government several £1 million a year, it appears that its future is reasonably secure. In 2005, there was a controversy over whether or not the Royal Air Force aerobatic team, its official name, should continue. Every Briton who has watched them fly has been filled with the pride of knowing this is their team. And now it appears this unparalleled team, these Red Arrows, will fly on.